I never thought the worst day of my life would start with the sound of my grandmother screaming. It was a Tuesday afternoon, the kind of quiet day where nothing is supposed to happen. I was at work when my phone lit up with a call from my mom. Her voice was shaking so hard I could barely understand her. "Something's happened to Grandma. He hurt her. There's blood." I dropped everything and drove like a mad woman to the hospital. My heart was in my throat the whole way. My grandma, my sweet, tiny, 80-year-old grandma, who still bakes cookies for the neighbors and calls me Honey Bun, was in the emergency room. When I ran through those doors and saw her, I almost collapsed. Her face was swollen, her lips split, bruises blooming across her arms like ugly purple flowers. She had a fractured wrist and cracked ribs. The nurse pulled me aside and said the words that turned my world black. She was beaten with a baseball bat. A bat. Someone used a bat on an 80-year-old woman who weighs maybe 95 pounds soaking wet. And then they told me who did it. Mark. My ex-husband's new husband. Yes, you heard that right. After I divorced Ryan 2 years ago, he married Mark 6 months later. I never cared. I just wanted peace. I even let them keep picking up the kids on weekends because I didn't want drama. Grandma still lived in the old family house next door to where Ryan and Mark bought their place. She waved at them every day. She brought them soup when Mark was sick. She was nothing but kind. But that day, Mark snapped. Something about a property line, a fence, some stupid argument that never should have happened. Grandma tried to calm him down the way she always does, with gentle words and a smile, and he lost it. He grabbed the bat from their garage and swung it at her like she was nothing. I stood there in that hospital hallway, holding my grandma's trembling hand, feeling something inside me die, and something else wake up. I was broken, shattered. But what Mark didn't know, what nobody outside my family knows, is that my little brother, the quiet one who barely speaks, the one who missed every holiday because he was deployed, is a Navy SEAL. And he was coming home.
The next 48 hours are a blur of tears and rage. Grandma kept apologizing. Can you believe that? She looked up at me with her one good eye and whispered, "I'm sorry I made him mad, honey." That almost destroyed me more than the bruises. Ryan texted me once. "It was an accident. Mark feels terrible. Please don't make this a big thing." An accident. My grandma's bones are broken and it's an accident? I didn't reply. I couldn't, because every time I closed my eyes, I saw that bat swinging down on the woman who raised me when my own mom couldn't. The woman who taught me how to ride a bike, who held me when Ryan cheated the first time, who still leaves the porch light on for me. I sat by her bed all night, and at 3 a.m., my phone buzzed with a single text from a number I hadn't seen in months. On my way. ETA 18 hours. J. Just the letter J. That's what my brother Jax has signed every message since he joined the teams. No emojis, no explanation, just J. I didn't sleep after that. The police came and went. Mark told them Grandma fell. The neighbors were too scared to contradict him. Ryan backed up every lie. Charges? Maybe a misdemeanor at best. Community service? A fine? That was it. I felt the injustice burning me alive. I wish I could say I stayed calm and graceful. I didn't. I screamed at Ryan on the front lawn. I told him he was spineless, that he chose a monster over family. He just looked away and said, "You're overreacting. She's old. Things happen. That's when I knew. The system wasn't going to fix this. Words weren't going to fix this. But my brother was. When Jax walked through the airport doors the next evening, he looked exactly the same and completely different. Same soft brown eyes as Grandma, same quiet smile. But there was something else now. Something steady and terrifying behind that smile. He hugged me so tight I couldn't breathe, then went straight to the hospital. He sat beside Grandma's bed for an hour without speaking, just held her hand. When he finally stood up, he kissed her forehead and said the only words I needed to hear. "I've got this."
2 days later, Mark opened his front door to find Jax standing there in civilian clothes, hands in his pockets, calm as sunrise. Mark laughed, actually laughed, and said, "Oh, the hero brother finally shows up." Jax didn't say a word. He just looked at him. Then he stepped inside. I wasn't there. I only know what the security camera caught and what Mark himself admitted later, shaking when the police finally did show up. Jax never raised a fist. He didn't need to. He simply walked Mark backward into the living room, voice low and even, and told him exactly who he was. Told him what he'd seen in war zones. Told him what happens when someone touches the wrong grandmother. Mark went white. He dropped to his knees. He started crying, ugly, snot-nosed crying, and begged. Promised he'd turn himself in. Promised he'd leave the state. Promised anything. Jax made him call the police right there and confess everything on speakerphone while he recorded it on his phone. Made him read the hospital report out loud. Made him say her name, Evelyn Grace Thompson, over and over, until it sunk in that she was a person, not a problem. By the time the officers arrived, Mark was a wreck. Felony assault charges stuck this time. Real ones. He's in prison now. Ryan left town the same week, couldn't face the shame. Grandma came home yesterday. She still flinches at loud noises, but she smiles when Jax pushes her wheelchair through the garden she loves. And me? I learned something I'll never forget. Justice doesn't always wear a badge. Sometimes it wears desert boots and dog tags and comes home on leave just long enough to remind the world that family is off limits. I forgave, but I didn't forget. And I sleep a little easier knowing that some men out there still understand what it means to protect the people who can't protect themselves. If you ever think about raising your hand to someone weaker than you, someone's grandma, someone's child, remember this story. Because somewhere out there, a quiet brother with a single letter for a signature might be on his way home. And trust me, you don't want him knocking on your door.